my name's 𝕁𝕚𝕕𝕤. Welcome to the very first episode of Coffee with the Dead. To give you some background on the show and myself, I have been doing paranormal investigations under the name of ℍ𝕗𝕬𝕤, actually since I was about 13, 14 years old, so quite a while. And from there, I started doing investigations up and down the East Coast, mostly bed and breakfasts. They were the easiest for me to get invited to. So I would send out, emails or phone calls or, whatever a 14-year-old kid would do to try to, get a response at the time. And as I grew up, I kind of branched off into a mix of things, away from just strictly paranormal, more into like a spiritual view of things and a view of, there's some spooky stuff out there, but what of it? There's no science to prove it. There's no real firm universal belief in it either. It's kind of always this topic that's up for debate and has a lot of controversy around it. So let's look at things from more of a, how is this possible kind of perspective. So in 2012, maybe, I think I actually started a podcast and released the name Coffee with the Dead. 2014 was our big year. I did a lot of interviews there. I interviewed Jason's Woods, the Pennhurst Asylum. I interviewed Eastern State Penitentiary. These are all places along the East Coast between Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey kind of areas. But the places I just mentioned are all in Pennsylvania. So that resulted in where we are now. We're going to Ashland, Virginia. And there is a really awesome group there. Also stemmed from an interview on the podcast, as many things do, a group called the Red Vein Army. Now, when I interviewed them in 2014, they were a book club, a horror-themed book club. And I thought that was really cool. You can even go back. It'll be in the show notes, a link to the original podcast. Now, 4 years later, not only does the book club still exist, but they have branched out. They have their own haunted house that they do every year. And they have an escape room that just opened. And they do a ghost walk, too, which is what this episode is partially about. We were part of the second test group to go through the escape room and check it out. Super awesome. And it's super cool, super well done. And they have these amazing t-shirts. And if you win, you get cool little pins and cupcakes and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's really worth the trip down there. The walking history tour, or the ghost walk actually, done by these two really, really great tour guides. They stay in character the whole time. They're really fun. They really, really have a lot of knowledge, and they'll come up later on in this episode. So I hope you enjoy. I am going to get on the road with my fancy new mug, which you'll see September 13th. We're going back down to Ashland, actually. Red Vein Army is hosting their fall kickoff party, and they are going to be releasing their beer, 𝕊𝕚𝕕𝕤𝕐𝕠𝕠𝕜 Ale. It'll fit nicely in one of these Coffee with the Dead mugs, which will be available as we will be there. Promo. So we are with Kitty and Ryan. They run the escape room here in Ashland, Virginia, and we have just finished going through tonight for the first time as part of two test groups that were here for the second night. They just opened last night on the 26th of July. So they also run a Halloween haunted house and the ghost walk that we just talked about, and a few other things. So if you guys would like to kind of tell us a little bit about how you got involved in all this wonderful creepy stuff.
Well, about I guess it was about 8 years ago, I started a traveling haunted house troupe and we went to different haunted houses in Virginia every weekend. We'd work there, and it was basically building up to have our own haunted house. We started a book club, which is how I met you.
Yes.
And we started a movie club, and then 4 years ago we started partnered with a farm here in Ashland and started Red Vein Haunted House. And then last year, or I guess it was 6 months ago, we were like, let's do an escape room.
Why not?
So now we're here running Red Vein Escape, and we open in a few weeks. So it's pretty crazy.
Awesome. So how did you two actually run into each other then to become business partners?
I was looking online for something fun and spooky to do and people that like similar things, and I found the 𝕬𝕗 Horror Book Club. I messaged the page, really wondering if they would murder me, and showed up to one of their meetings, and then the next thing you know, I just keep showing up. I'm not dead. And now we work together, so.
We just keep doing more stuff.
I know, it works out well.
It's gonna be an epic death.
I hope.
What drew you, both of you, into doing, the kind of spooky career? Have you had paranormal experiences in the past, or more of a business end for you?
No, I've always loved haunted houses. When I was a kid, I did a haunted house in my parents' basement. Had like a bicycle crash scene, and used the ketchup for blood. And one of the first memories I've ever had in my life was actually at a haunted house. It was a pirate-themed haunted house at 𝕬𝕚𝕤𝕤. I was probably like 4 years old, and we were in line to go into the haunt, and a pirate just scared the daylights out of me, and I started crying.
Awesome.
And
that's a good thing.
That's like my most vivid memory
to
start my life. And so I've always loved haunts. I've always loved Halloween. My birthday's in October. And I guess right around college age, I realized that there were professional haunts that people could work at. So after I graduated college, I was like, I've got to work at a haunt. Mm-hmm. So I moved to Richmond, found one, and I've been doing it ever since.
So you've been in it for, you said 8 years?
Yeah, with Red Vein, started Red Vein 8 years ago, but I've been doing haunts for probably 12 years.
And just staying in the Virginia area?
Yep, staying in Richmond area, and putting up roots here, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. We keep doing more stuff. And I don't think we mentioned, but the ghost tour too. So there was a Ashland Haunted History Tour before us, and we partnered with that that owner, and we're kind of taking it over, and we just started that last week. So every weekend through October, we'll be doing the Ashland Haunted History Tour. They're meeting at the escape room.
Okay.
So yeah.
Awesome. And you have a great mural
Yeah.
out on the side wall. I think anyone who does already follow Red Vein on Facebook has probably seen the in progress videos that they've been posting. But how did that go?
Yeah.
I mean, was that something that you wanted from a design perspective? Or?
Oh, absolutely. When we came to this building, we immediately fell in love with it. It's old, it has its own story. I mean, it's been here for over 100 years. Mm-hmm. And the paint on the outside was pretty much completely gone. It was faded. And we're moving in. We want something fresh. Let's do a mural. This is a perfect spot for a mural. And we're constantly trying to work with different artists. Mm-hmm. It's something that we like to seek out new art. And Ryan's wearing a shirt from a local artist,
show it off.
ℚ𝕒𝕥𝕣𝕉.
Yeah. Yes.
So, whenever we can, we're like, hey, we love your art. Let's do something.
Yeah.
And ℚ𝕚𝕤𝕤𝕤, who did the mural, is also one of our members of Red Vein.
Perfect.
So she's done a ton of art for us. She's done stuff within the escape room. There's stuff inside the haunted house. She's done some of our posters. Okay. She did our very first bunny shirt. We do a bunny every single spring, and she did our very first one. So, we went to her and said, hey, we want a tree on the side of the building. What do you think? And then she gave it her own spin, and it was a really long process, but she was out there in 100 degrees and working
in the hottest week of the year.
Yeah, the hottest week.
Happy to work out. buy the scissor or rent the scissor lift, and then it's like, oh, it's 1,000 degrees.
It's done and it looks amazing.
Yeah, she killed it. It's incredible. We couldn't be happier.
That's great. So why bunnies? What's with this? Because they're kind of cute. I mean, even though yours have little bloody red eyes and whatnot, but
it all ties back to our backstory. You do a good job of explaining the bunny symbolism.
Well, in a lot of folklore, it was believed that witches would change into different animals to escape detection. And one of the more common ones, not the black cat, as many people would think, but it was actually the rabbit. So since our matriarch at Red Vein Haunted House is ℁𝕒𝕤𝕤𝕤, she's a witch, and we wanted to show like different things she could do. And in her story, it's believed that when the town captured her, they tried to burn her at the stake, they hung her, they dismembered her eventually, but they were still terrified that she may have shapeshifted and escaped in some manner, that she would continue to live on. So they slaughtered every rabbit in Hanover County and buried them under the tree with her body. So that's one of the reasons we have the bunnies in our story and in our folklore.
Yeah, and we try to fit bunnies in pretty much everything we do. Throughout the haunt, you'll see pictures of bunnies. The mural has pictures of bunnies. T-shirts we wear, everything kind of has that bunny somewhere. So
it's a little witchiness.
Yeah.
it's not so cute after all.
Oh, it's definitely cute.
So the haunt then.
Yep, the haunt.
Let's talk about that now.
Yeah, the haunt opens every weekend in October at Hanover Vegetable Farm, which is about 6 miles away from the escape room, right down the road. It grows every year. We
and this is your
number 4.
Oh,
so it's getting gets bigger and better every year. We change stuff, we add stuff, and this year we're doing a plague theme.
Ooh.
And we haven't announced that yet, so it's the first time. And it's going to be ℁𝕒𝕤𝕤𝕤's twins.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, they're causing a plague around the area, so that's going to be pretty cool. We're excited.
And so you're part of that as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there anything Red Vein related you're not a part of?
No. She does everything. And she is the operations manager at the haunt. And we're building a new cool merchandise barn. So that's where we have our 3-minute escape room. We're going to have a bunch of new merchandise for the haunt. It's going to be a nice enclosed barn. And it's going to be super professional looking. And so we're excited. We've wanted that for 2 years, so we finally are able to do that.
So you have a second escape room that's going to be on site?
Yeah, it's a 3-minute one. And we've had that for the last 2 years. That's how we started in escape rooms, just doing it as a little side attraction at the haunt.
We've actually done that for 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
4 years doing pop-up escape rooms,
Yeah.
taking them to different locations. That was part of our halfway to Halloween celebration. We always reveal a new escape room. So that's something that we've done, but we've had it for 2 years at the haunt.
At the haunt, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yep, so now we'll have a nice enclosed area for the escape rooms. And we'll be able to keep adding different escape rooms. We can have multiple 3-minute ones at the haunt, so.
That's great.
Yeah, so more stuff, just more stuff.
Kitty, how did you come to, want to be part of having a paranormal career? Had you had experiences yourself too, or?
I haven't, but I grew up with ghost stories. My mom was always telling me she grew up in a haunted house in Connecticut. So she said, at least when I was a child. And those stories stuck with me. I had a grandma who was fantastic at telling ghost stories. And, all the kids in the neighborhood would get together and we'd have a Halloween party. And my grandma would dress up as a witch and tell stories. And we'd have like a community party, with the peeled eyeballs and the bowl of spaghetti. It was all there. And that was that's life. And it's the best part of the year. And it just stuck with me. And I want to keep doing that. And I love, in the Never Ending Story, when he's in the attic at the school with the blanket over him and it's pouring and he's reading the book.
Yeah.
I wanted that all the time. That sense of fear and dread. You don't know what's happening, but you have to keep going, which is why I needed to join the book club. And they just opened this door for me that, I didn't know anything about haunted houses. So it was it was destiny.
Yeah, and now she can design her own. So she started out not knowing how to put a set together, and then she just learned every year, and she ended up designing one of our 3-minute escape rooms one year, and now she can like do all their electric. It's crazy. So really cool.
I'm useful.
Now, the tour we are going to be doing tonight is based in real history of the town. The stories you're going to hear have been developed through years of research and discussions with the local businessmen and the local residents. These are true stories as best we understand them. We ask you to keep an open mind and a watchful eye.
Yes.
You never know what spirits are waiting to hear their names and their stories told once more. Welcome to Ashland, also known as the center of the universe. How many people are from Ashland? Fair enough. Probably wondering where the nickname came from. Well, one of the former mayors, Richard Gillis, the man for who the library is named, went to an astronomy lecture at Randolph-Macon College one day. And the professor said that there was no objective center of the universe. So Mayor Gillis said, well then Ashland could be the center of the universe. And the name has stuck ever since. The town was founded back in 1826 when they laid the first rails of the railroad down. After that, a resort popped up about a stone's throw that away called Slash Cottage, a mineral springs resort. After that, we got the racetrack. We got businesses popping up all along the train tracks. And then, of course, the Civil War happened. A lot of troops came through here, a lot of soldiers. And they walked these same streets that we're going to be walking tonight. Point out a couple folks to you. This man over here, this was Malcolm J. Case. He was the editor of the Herald Progress, whose offices were a little less of a stone's throw that way in the old jail. And he was really a beloved member of the community who sadly passed in 2004. And then over here, we have a bust in memory of Miss ℚ𝕚𝕚𝕚 Peace. She was a lawyer and then a judge and always an advocate for children's rights. She also passed away in 2004, and then the town made statues of them both. Now the thing about Miss Peace here is her name is very easy to mispronounce. So if people do, it is said that her statue will begin to shake a little if you mispronounce it too many times. Personally, I'm not willing to risk it. I spend too much time around here at night, and frankly, I don't need that kind of headache.
The next place we're going to go to, it is got the word track in its name, but it is not named for the railroad. It is actually named for the racetrack, not too far out of town. Follow me. So right here before you folks, so this is called Trackside Grill, and I will tell you, it really is a jumping place. Let's cross the street. So the Trackside Grill used to be host to several businesses. There were different restaurants here. It was a gym, it was a bowling alley, and a supply store. But the most clever distinction of it is that it used to be a movie theater. Now is known as the Trackside Grill, was actually the first movie theater in Ashland. It was opened in 1927 by the Covingtons. And in fact, if you look up there where you see that bizarre, I think they call it an air box or something like that, I don't know. But that was actually the old projection office. Now, the stories about the Trackside Grill are actually quite interesting. If you happen to be a lady, like yourself, you might expect to feel a brush of cold air behind your neck. Someone walking around, whispering in your ear. And not just whispering any old thing, your name, whether anyone's heard it or not. You see, it is the ladies who get most of the activity within the Trackside Grill. What say you, sir?
I'd say right back on schedule.
Let's go. Move this way, my good friends. I think we'll stop right here along this fence. Oh yes, this kitty actually came and visited us yesterday. Do you remember, Marvin? Oh, trust me, he actually climbed up on the fence and nuzzled over the person. He is a bit bashful. This is South Center Street, facing the railroad tracks. Wonderful place to be. Now, this next story I'm going to tell you is a house somewhere on this street. But out of respect for the current owners, I will not reveal which one it is. So they have a young daughter. I believe she's an infant. And this little girl kept, for whatever reason, losing her pacifier. And every time she lost a pacifier, they replaced it. I'm sure you could probably relate, those of you who are parents here. So this kept going on and on for quite some time. So one day, the wife of the family had gone up to the attic to just run a small errand. Now her husband was at work, and he gets a phone call. Picks it up, hello? And it's his wife on the other end, frantic. So he comes home, his wife is waiting for him and says, just go up to the attic. Tell me what you see. He goes up to the attic, up those draw down steps that you have to pull down the ladder, and he peeks his head up, and his eye is caught by something on the rafter. He takes a closer look, and there, lined up in a row, are all the pacifiers. Now, I have to stop and think. Is that something a baby could do? Why don't we go on to check out another fine house in this area?
I think so.
Yes.
Now you gotta pick up the pace a little.
Yes, right this way. Follow Marvin, my friends.
Oh my goodness, you are friendly. But you have such a scowl on your face. Oh wow.
Ah, that's one of my favorite houses over there. Yes. Now, actually, there's a story with that house, which we'll talk about soon. That house used to be one of the last boarding houses in Ashland. Yes. So after the woman who was running the boarding house died, and the last boarder died, it reverted to a single-family home.
Always good to double triple check before we walk up.
Now, folks, we are going to be crossing the railroad tracks right over here, so please mind your step. Do you know by any chance Mr. Edgar Allan Poe very well? Well, yes, of course. What a fine man. Poor Eddie. Haunted individual. Very much so. Now, he does have a big connection to Richmond, living there for 7 years of his life. He may have been born in Boston, but he claims that he was a Virginian. Makes sense to me. I'm proud. But this house right over here also has a Poe connection. Have you ever heard of a lady by the name of Sarah Elmira Royster Shelton?
That was his cousin.
No, that's Virginia Clem, who was his cousin and wife. Yes, indeed. But Sarah Royster Shelton was his first and last fiancée. So Poe met her whilst living here in Virginia, and they were very young. I believe she was about 14 and he was 16. Ah, the passion of young lovers. They did become secretly engaged. But Sarah was from a rather upper crust family. And while Poe was taken in by the wealthy Allen family, he was no son of theirs. He was just a foster son. And Mr. Royster did not approve. So, when Poe went away to the University of Virginia, he promised he would write letters to Sarah, and he did so. But her father intercepted the letters. She never received them, and as time went by, she believed Poe had forgotten her. So, eventually she moved on with her life and married a man more accepting to her family, Alexander Shelton, a fine gentleman. And a few decades later, she is widowed and wealthy, and Poe is also widowed, and they re-encountered each other and rekindled their romance. Sadly, it was not meant to be. before a few months later, in 1849, October, Edgar Allan Poe died in Baltimore. But this is said to be the house that the Royster family owned. And while there really are no tales of paranormal activity in there, heartbreak is truly a haunting thing. Back earlier, I pointed out a building on this side that was called the Hanover's Arts and Activity Center, but it has a history before that. It used to be the First Baptist Church of Ashland, built in 1858 and home to a thriving Baptist congregation. Now, just like the 𝕁𝕠𝕚𝕤 house, it was used as a hospital during the Civil War. Now, I'm sure you all know, the Civil War was devastating. In fact, there was a camp right up here on the race course. That's where General Stonewall Jackson was when he came to be entertained by the 𝕁𝕠𝕚 family. And I heard he actually had to leave in the middle of the night so he could join his troops and get ready to march the next day. That's all they did. Although this young man back here might have been a fine soldier. Maybe. After it was from its use as a hospital, in 1969 it was opened as the Hanover Arts and Activity Center. And so there are studio artists, children's theater, all sorts of wonderful things. In fact, also wedding receptions. But there's a story. I've heard it's just very active here with the theater goers and also with the spirits. Right through those red doors is that front main room where the hospital was. And we do still have the original floorboards, but we do have another layer of floorboards. So 2 layers, and the original floorboards are still blood-stained from the time of the hospital. Now, a paranormal group does come in here quite frequently, and they say in the front room there's a female presence rushing around. Perhaps she is a nurse tending to those who were breathing their last, or maybe it was a member of a family coming to offer comfort to somebody they loved. We do know that even though many people came through this hospital, we only have record of 11 people dying that we know of. Throughout the rest of the building, you hear footsteps, even on carpeted hallways, where you'd think there'd be no such sound. You also hear whispered conversation. Now, down in the basement, there's a male presence, and apparently he loves playing with the ghostly gadgets. He will play with the K2 meter and the laser grid. Shadow play can be seen all around. So you can basically set up in there and experience good activity without even moving. But remember this, despite the plays and the wonderful energy of the building and the artists, remember, you are walking on blood. Shall we?
Okay, so we are in Ashland, Virginia, and we had just finished up going through the escape room, brand new. They just opened last night on, what's today, the 27th. So on the 26th of July, they had their opening night, and we got to be test group number 2. And now we have here 2 of the tour guides from, say your name again?
My name is Whitney.
Travis.
Yeah.
And you run the
Haunted Ashland History Tour.
Ashland Haunted History.
Yeah, Ashland Haunted History.
Ashland Haunted
History.
So you 2, we just got through the walking tour. About how long have you guys been actually doing this as tour guides?
Well, in terms of Ashland, we just started it. We have just acquired this tour. It went on hiatus for a while, and now we're breathing new life into it. As for tour guiding itself, I've been doing it for, a long time. I've got a museum degree. I actually work at the Valentine in Richmond, the Valentine Museum. I've done Colonial Williamsburg and one of my favorite things to do is to just tell stories and have fun and work with Travis here. Usually.
Have you guys worked together on previous tours, or?
We actually met through Red Vein Haunted House.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Never actually guided a tour before, so this was my first experience doing it, and it's kind of interesting. It's a good way to get some exercise, tell a few good stories, and of course just the views up and down Center Street right there, right on the other side of the road.
Yeah, the historic houses are gorgeous.
Ashland truly is a hidden gem.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, don't say that too loud though, because then pretty soon it won't be a hidden gem.
Yeah, you never know.
The tourists will start flocking.
Yeah. Well, the college students already come here.
They're the same as tourists sometimes. It depends.
Yeah, but no, I've never done a tour guide, but I did work the queue line in the Red Vein Haunt last year or so, kind of mixing that with a little less intensely trying to scare you sort of thing, and now it's just telling you creepy stories in a creepy way.
So what actually got you guys interested in doing a haunted history tour? Are you fans of paranormal? Have you had experiences before? Or
I've had a few experiences in the past. When I was younger, I used to see, I remember a couple times I actually saw ghosts moving from one wall of my room to another wall. And my parents just chalked it up to night terrors, and having right through my teens, really, I think.
And you were awake?
As best I could tell, yes. I could see stuff in my room, and as soon as they vanished, I was still, it wasn't a waking dream.
So was that the turning point for you that kind of perked your interest in the paranormal?
It's never been a very fervent passion, but I've always had a passing interest. My mom has always been very into the paranormal sort of thing. She's never really discredited the idea of ghosts and specters and paranormal activity, and she's always tried to foster in me a openness to experience what could be out there.
That's quite the opposite of most parents' stories that you will hear.
Yeah.
That is fortunate.
Yeah, and then I just heard about a haunted house, and I thought, that might be fun to do. I don't usually go through them, but could be fun.
Behind the scenes is a different story for you?
Oh yes, yeah. when you know where all the scares are going to happen, and it kind of makes it a little easier to go through. You're like, okay, there's that one, and there's that one. But no, otherwise it's just real fun acting. Just like I said on the tour, it's just the age-old tradition of scaring the living hell out of somebody. It's just a lot of fun.
And as for me, I've always been a historian. I'm a native Virginian. I've been here all my life. I'm also a traveler. I've been to several countries. I've been to Taiwan, East Asia, I've been to Ecuador, and I've always been fascinated with folklore and history, so I've naturally just delved in. And
you're a good team then.
Few experiences under my belt, and I love the paranormal, so hey.
Well, you guys did a wonderful job.
Thank you for that, and thank you for joining us, and we hope that many people come and join us.
I see you are going to give another tour now.
I think we do have
so I will let you
keep on schedule.
Yeah.
In about 5 minutes or so, yeah.
Yes,
Make it so.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you, it was a pleasure.
Indeed, and keep in touch.
We will.
The Facebooks.
Bye-bye.
Take care, y'all.
Thank you. Well, hi. Thanks for checking out the first episode of Coffee with the Dead. Especially appreciate you picking up that time machine to check out the tasting of 𝕊𝕕𝕤𝕤 Ale. Also available at our Teespring store, along with many of our other items that are currently available and will be available in the future, as we are working on new stuff all the time. This has been a great experience. Ashland is a beautiful place. The folks at Red Vein are just the nicest, and were so hospitable to us. Really looking forward to any other chances we get to go back down there. And let us know, what kind of things do you want to see? We're a new show, right? So give me your feedback, give me your input. You can find us on the Facebooks, as most things are nowadays. If you go to facebook.com Coffee with the Dead, or you can contact me, Para-Ann, directly at facebook.com Para-Ann Haunts. Because believe it or not, there is another one of me who is not me, very clearly not me, but got my name before me, floating around out there, who has just simply Para Ann. So you want to add haunts at the end of my name if you want me. You can also go to patreon.com/coffeewiththedead and give us a little bit of your generosity here and there, monthly little, pat on the back, so to speak, in exchange for a reward of my choosing, which is listed, so you will not be surprised. So thank you again. I am Para Ann, and I am on my way, as we are in the woods, to Jason's Woods, where you can see me now through November 2nd in the hayride. You should sit on the left side of the hayride if you do come for a most personal and best scare, if I may say so myself. So, once again, thank you, and until next time, remember, the veil is thin.